Your witness.
Thank you, Judge. All right, please state your name for the record and spell it for our court reporter.
William Duggan, William Duggan.
And it's Officer Duggan, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there a special designation that I'm missing, like sergeant or lieutenant or something like that?
No, ma'am.
All right. And how are you currently employed?
With the Glenn County Police Department.
How long have you been with the Glenn County Police Department?
Just over 12 years.
All right. And have you been in law enforcement all those 12 years, or is there some law enforcement before joining Glenn County?
Before that.
All right. So how many years in total have you been with law enforcement?
14 years.
All right. So let's talk about what your current job duties and responsibilities are with the Glenn County Police Department.
Yes, ma'am. I'm assigned to the patrol division. I've been there for my 12 years with the department. It involves regular routine calls, day-to-day calls, thefts, violent felonies, misdemeanors, traffic accidents, etc. Anything that comes our way.
So does the patrol division, is that the division that usually responds to like 911 calls?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any kind of 911 call?
That is correct, from 911 hang-ups to anything else that's going on.
All right, now within the Glenn County system, when you respond to a 911 call, is a report generated based on the 911 call?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what happens if the 911 call is kind of maybe unfounded, or like for instance, you get a call for a burglary, but you get there and it turns out it's nothing, there's an alarm going off?
We would change the title of it with our CAD system, which is the computer-aided dispatch, through our dispatcher, and we would close it out unfounded or something else if it was something not a burglar.
Okay. So you get a response for one type of call, and it turns out it's a different kind of call.
Yes.
All right. Now, have you attended classes or trainings with the Georgia Peace Officer Standards Training Council?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
All right, and we commonly call that POST?
That is correct.
All right, so are you in fact a post-certified law enforcement officer?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right, so as a post-certified law enforcement officer, what do you have to do to maintain your post-certification?
The standard right now per year is a minimum mandatory 20 hours of in-service training. In-service training is sometimes required courses, which is mandated by post each year, such as de-escalation, use of force, firearms training, and most officers will get more than the 20 hours per year.
Okay. And you maintain your training?
Yes.
All right. Now, have you had any training in the medical field?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
All right, tell the jury about your training within the medical field.
Since I've been employed or through post-training and other training, I've had at least a minimum of 184 hours of medical training. That ranges from basic first aid, CPR, first responder training, which would be the next level up for more serious injuries that a first responder as a police officer would handle, getting to a scene of an accident or a stabbing or just somebody falling off of a ladder. Also done officer survival, which has a basis in that course of taking care of serious injuries. Active shooter response, which also involves dealing with traumatic injuries, and tactical first aid, which would be dealing with serious injuries, gunshots, whatnot, in an active shooter situation where you have to move and try and assist the survival of somebody during a shooting.
Okay, so when you get called to a scene of, say, a shooting, what's the priority at the scene?
Upon first arriving on a scene of a shooting, you want to make sure it's safe for the officer and for the citizens around you. Once it's determined to be safe by yourself or other officers, then you would secure the crime scene. That could be putting up tape and whatnot and preserving the evidence that is at the scene so it can be processed, analyzed, investigated by follow-up officers and investigators.
Okay, so officer safety is first priority.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so even if someone's injured, but it's still a dangerous scene, what happens?
You can't help them if something happens to you, so you got to make sure you're safe first.
Got it. Got it. Now, in the patrol division, is the patrol division divided up in the Glenn County Police Department by like areas or zones?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are some of those areas and zones?
They go there's no zone 3, but we have 1 through 11. And they're in various parts of the county. The southern part of the county is what we call as a Baker 9, around the exit 29 area of 95. The northern part would be exit 36. That encompasses Baker 6, Baker 11. To the western part of the county is Baker 8. The southern part, or the southern part from the interchange, exit 36 would be Baker 6. And then the eastern side would be Baker 5 and 10. And then the island, St. Simon's Island, Sea Island, comprises Baker 1, 2, and 4.
All right, so the Sattila Shores neighborhood, is that Baker 9?
Yes, ma'am, that is Baker 9.
All right. And in your experience, 12 years on patrol, how bad is Baker 9 as far as crime in general?
It has its fair share of calls. It's one of our biggest territories for the Baker, which would have 1 officer assigned to it. It's a large territory, which is usually handled by that 1 officer due to the lack of call volume that is down there.
Okay. So let me make sure I get this right. Baker 9, which covers the southern part, including Sattila Shores,
yes,
on any 8-hour shift has how many officers assigned in a patrol car?
Usually 1, unless there's an overlapping shift.
Okay. Low call volume.
Pretty much, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So now, as a post-certified law enforcement officer, what do you normally drive?
Usually a marked patrol car, has Glenn County on the side, says police with the emblems, lights on top, visible, not hidden lights. Currently, I'm driving a 2015 Dodge Charger.
All right. And what do you generally wear as a post-certified law enforcement officer?
On patrol, it's full uniform with shoulder patches, a badge present, gun belt, pretty much it.
Do you also wear body cam?
I do. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Sattila Shores neighborhood. What county does Sattila Shores fall into?
That is Glenn County, Georgia.
All right, Glenn County. And back in 2019 or 2020, were you patrolling Baker 9?
No, I was not.
All right. Prior to February of 2020, did you know Defendant William R. Bryan, seated over there?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, so you didn't know him prior to that?
No.
All right. Did you know Travis McMichael?
No, ma'am.
All right. Did you know Greg McMichael?
Where's he at?
If you could stand up, I know it's hard to
Yep.
get a court reporter there and get the whole thing.
Yes, ma'am. I've had occasion to meet him.
All right. And when you say occasions to meet him, was that in your capacity as a law enforcement officer?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And on the realm of scales of relationships, from really, really close best friend over to someone I maybe knew their first name to wave at, where did he fall?
Knew his first name.
Okay. All right, I'm going to direct your attention specifically right now to Sunday, February 23rd, 2020, at approximately 1 to 1:15 p.m. in the afternoon that day. Were you actually working that day as a Glenn County police officer or in some other capacity?
Another capacity.
And tell the jury what that capacity was.
We have our primary functions as police officers, and the community, businesses, organizations will hire us in an off-duty capacity, but with the presence of a full uniform and a marked patrol car for traffic duties, security duties, banks, churches, etc., like that. On that day, I was working, or I had completed a shift working for a local church.
So sort of an approved second job as service to the community, like at the church?
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
All right. So how were you dressed that day?
Full uniform as previously described.
All right. And what vehicle were you in?
I was in a 2015 fully marked Dodge Charger.
All right. So I'm going to ask you this. Did you respond to the homicide scene at the corner of Holmes and Sattila Drive in the Sattila Shores neighborhood on February 23rd, 2020?
I did, yes.
All right. So where were you at, and why did you go to that location?
On the way home from the off-duty job that I was working, I had stopped at a local business to pick up some lunch, and I'd gone across the street to pick up some drinks, and while I was obtaining my stuff in the drive-thru, the radio was on as required, and I heard Officer Minshew come across the radio advising of shots fired, and a person was down on the ground in the street. I knew where he was located at, which was approximately maybe 2 miles away. The jurisdiction, the location of his beat, Baker 9, I knew the closest backup unit to him was probably 9 to 10 miles away at the closest. And they would have to come from exit 36 area. So I immediately responded to assist him.
All right. What did you find when you arrived at the corner of Holmes and Sattila Drive on February 23rd, 2020? Just describe it for the jury.
When I arrived, there was Officer Minshew's patrol car was parked at the intersection. I parked a little bit to the right, back of him. I saw him out walking around. I believe he was beginning to take some pictures of the scene. I did see a black male laying on the ground in the middle of the roadway on the pavement. There were a couple of other people walking around, milling around. There was a vehicle in the road further back past the person that was down on the ground.
Did you see any firearms or weapons?
Immediately upon arriving, I did not notice anything at the initial on-scene response.
Okay. And the only officer there when you arrived was who?
Officer Minshew.
All right. Prior to coming in today, you and I have spoken, obviously.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And did you get the opportunity to review your body cam video from that day?
Yes, I did.
All right. When I showed it to you, was it a fair and accurate depiction of the body cam video of your actions on the afternoon of Sunday, February 23rd, 2020?
Yes.
Now, with body cam, when you hit the button and it started, what kind of technical issue with your body cam happens?
When they're in the on position, to activate them manually, you'll double press, double tap the center of the camera, which will activate it. You'll hear a beep, and then it'll start recording audio and video. Prior to that, in standby mode, when it's on a continuous loop, which means it's always recording, but with no audio. Upon activating it, either by lights or some other technology that'll activate it simultaneously, it'll record 30 seconds prior to with no audio upon activation. So the last 30 seconds I was just talking to you. If I had my body camera in standby mode, it would see my hands moving, people blinking and whatnot, but no audio. And upon activating it, the audio would start from there with 30 seconds prior of no audio.
Is that what happened with your body cam video?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, at this time, the state would tender into evidence State's Exhibit 219, Officer Duggan's body cam video.
No objection.
Subject to the court's prior rulings. And may I say,
Could we get the mic a little closer? It's very difficult to hear this far away.
Okay,
Thank
for the
you.
corner, and I've checked with the deputies a couple times. I know that we're not having, I understand everybody can hear on the jury panel, so we're good there. It must be that corner.
I think it's this corner, maybe the acoustics. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, if we could, or if there's any way to turn that mic up, we'll try to do that. If I could just get you to speak right into that mic so we can get you.
Yes, sir.
No objection, subject to the previous ruling.
Thank you. All right, it's admitted. What's that number again?
This is states 219.
Thank you.
I believe you'll be able to see it right there on the monitor.
Okay.
Let's stop it right here. At this point, when you were moving your hand and pointing it,
Hold on a second. Let's see if that catches up. That's off, that's something that's already been loaded onto the board, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was kind of, Your Honor,
Is
is
yours-
also
yeah,
jumping.
yours is jumping?
It was jumping around a lot.
That one's jumping and mine's jumping.
Oh, there's a little lag on that television? All right, well, hopefully it'll load up while I'm asking the question.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Okay. So, Officer Duggan, at this point in time, you see the man here? And
Yes.
is there another person seated over here?
I believe so, yes, there was. I see the one in front of me with the jeans and the light colored shirt. And I believe there was a second person over in the shadows. Yeah.
And what did you say to the second person over in the shadows, if anything?
I know I made a motion to the gentleman walking towards me to just hang back. And I'm pretty sure at the time when I saw Mr. Junior on the side, didn't know who he was at the time, but I could see he was covered in blood. There was blood all over. And I remember at some point asking if he was okay.
And what did that man covered in blood, seated over there, say to you when you asked him, "Are you okay?"
It was a quick reply of basically, no, I'm not okay. I just effing killed somebody.
And do you use that profanity with the F word?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I know. I didn't try to do something for him.
Let's
She's like,
shut
phone's
it
on.
down for a second.
Okay, for a second.
Let's keep, I want to move, just either, we need to figure out, there's a delay there, there's a delay there. Are you still seeing a delay?
Yeah, still seeing a delay, and the audio was skipping.
It's skipping.
We need technical support since I did load it onto the monitor.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and take a step into the jury room for just a moment, please.
All right for the jury.
Okay, if y'all just have a seat. See if we can get somebody from IT to take a look at this.
He's on the way, Judge.
Okay.
Your Honor, when you have a minute, I have one other matter to bring up about the courtroom setup.
That's fine.
I'd like a bathroom break if I have the time.
Okay, let's hear from Mr. Hope first, and then we'll break.
I didn't realize till, till we got started that you actually cannot see the witness from this row of chairs.